Choose your reality. Fact or fiction. Excavation or construction. Get part 1 if you want the drop, because we dropped a very important video, man. Appreciate it, man. Love to the fan bam, Bruce Parker, man, that dropped that on us, man. Get part 1 so you know what we talking on. We're just talking about these mounds, they call them here. And if there are no pyramids over there, or at least, we can at least surf the wave that a good percentage of them are constructions, not excavations, then where's the real drop? This here is called the Indian Mounds Historic Site. Alright, so this is a historic site now. These Itowa Mounds, what about them? Indian Mounds are 54 acres archaeological site in Bartow Country, Georgia, south of Cartersville. Tell you right now, love to Natural by Law that dropped this, that he inspired me to even get into these Georgia mounds again, man, because we're talking the Cherokee, right? We're talking the Hebrew, right? We're talking Cholola. We're talking Mexico, all that's connected. We're talking Itowa. We're talking Georgia. Now they call these things mounds, but they are really what? You see the picture. I wish I can get this bigger, but this is an artist's, depiction of what it really used to look like. Not just little mounds, but pyramids, a pyramid city. We're saying, where's the drop? Let me get that. Itowa. Hidden in plain sight, right? You call them mounds, but they are pyramids. Are they the real deal? Yeah, we're talking Coosa. Love to Natural by Law that dug all this up. Go subscribe and get on Natural by Law. Get his last few drops at least, so you know where we're coming from. Love to the young Fam Bam. Love to the brilliant scholar, man. This brother is, the truth and the proof. Both the truth and the proof, man. Natural by Law. So, I was over there in that classroom digging on it, man. And he came up with this Coosa, man. And it's also called Little Egypt. Coosa County, Alabama. We're talking Georgia. An Indian mound near Fort Tolucy. Fort Jackson, 4 miles from Wetumpka, Alabama on Coosa River. So look at the name, Wetumpka. We're talking the copper color race found here by the European, the so-called Negro, and how they've just, buried your shit, or shit that was connected to the Egypt that was already here, that had you in bondage, so-called Negro. This ain't to run back to hijack. This is to let you know that the hijack Atlantis, the origin is right here. The hijack, what they're calling Egypt. Egypt is a Greek word. It's here. When we talk about the Nile River, that's what we got before we got cut off in part 1. Get part 1, man, so you can vibrate, activate all the way. Oh, yeah. We're just talking the sprouting seed, man. Where's that, Oh, yeah. Okay. And we were just getting this, man. So, you got that first part. Let's keep going. Geographic development in the United States and Egypt. So it's dropping right here that the United States and Egypt are over 56,000 miles apart. But, therefore it would be easy to assume that they have little in common. But Egypt over there is usually regarded as being a land of dry, hot desert, and the United States is known for varied geography and abundant coastline. What many people don't know is that Egypt and America, Egypt and America, Egypt is America. America is so much more. It's so much more than just Egypt. But yes, Egypt, Atlantis is here. And the America, so Egypt and America share a lot in common when it comes to their geography. The Nile River in Egypt and the Mississippi River in America can be considered as twins. Considered twins, or did one copy the other? And yes, we're surfing the wave. You got to ask the questions once you're breaking through the illusion and you see that all of your sites over there, man, are constructions, not excavations. When you at least surf that wave and you say, yeah, man, maybe drop Cyborian War reality simulation done in Arizona. Done right there in Arizona. We're just talking to Grand Canyon. That when we keep going over here to this so-called Africa, it's just desert and Vindia. It's called Vindia. You have the Vindia Desert and ancient lands in southern Vindia. You don't have Egypt. Where's your Nile? Where's Egypt? Back when things were still connected. But according to this reality simulation of reality, Egypt has been here the whole time. Here's the land of Kim and Luxor and Neptune and Pion, Tai, haunted pyramids. Oh yeah, we're just talking the land right over South America. We're talking Mexico. This is where your Arizona would be and Grand Canyon would be. So things got stretched out and we got out of bondage right here, my people. And Horace Butler told you that you're following your Mashiach, that which is leading you out of captivity into your promised land. That you're tracing that through Brazil and the Yucatan. You're talking about your promised land, people. You're talking about Pick land, man. And the land of Shem, right, which is right over Egypt. So this is your Africa. This is your Egypt. This is your Africa. That's why the Moors say that this is West Africa. You're in Africa. You're in their version of Africa. This is a game. The whole thing is Africa. You're in West Africa. And this is before the days of Peleg when the earth was divided. Now they have other parts of Amexem, but they consider all of it Atlantis. And you say, but what about the Israelites? They say, nah, man, it's Ham and Cush. It's about the Moabites and Canaanites. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, King David? Nah, man, it's all about Moab and the Sultan and Morocco and Islam. But what about the Creator? What about the Creator's perspective? What about the black kingdoms in Peru and the Amazon? And why over the Amazon is there Kush? And the capital city Meroe in Kush. And the Zuid tribes. And the Kush's tribe land. And Timbuktu. And Ghana, Ghanata. And Darfur. Why is there Punt and Zimbabwe under Egypt, under Shem, over Peru, Amazon? And why is there a Thoth Amon spell barrier? Why is there a Ra spell barrier, man? And why are we breaking the spell? So we're talking about the Hyborian War map. We're going to get into some truth unveiled. We're making a dismount. We're talking about the mounds found here, right here in Georgia and all over the place. Michigan, Louisiana, the list goes on and on. We're talking about what they're calling the Indian mounds in Coosa River. Let's get a little bit more of this dot. So the Nile River in Egypt and the Mississippi River in America can be considered twins. Both are the breadbasket. So much is coming off of this. So much is being cultivated off of this Mississippi River, off of this Nile River here. That's the twin, right? But which came first? This is the old world. Horace Butler told you that. Egypt, one of the world's oldest or greatest and oldest civilizations. All right. But where is it? Where is Egypt? Would not have thrived if not had been for the Nile. All right. And then we get that in part 1. We're picking up. If you were to compare the geography of Egypt to that of the U.S., then the sister river of the Nile would be the Mississippi. So what would the Colorado River be, huh? The Red Sea. Let's go. The Mississippi River has been a vital factor in the physical and economic growth of the United States. Mississippi is important here. Nile is important there. They're twins, and is arguably the most important river in the U.S. The Mississippi, the Nile. The first people to live among the banks and in the delta region of the Mississippi River were Native Americans. Copper-colored race is found here. These Native American tribes formed prolific agricultural societies dependent on the rich, silt-laden soil of the Mississippi. Now, these days, a significant amount of our country's corn, soybeans, wheat, rice, cotton is grown in the basin of the Mississippi, the cradle of the Mississippi. That's why the so-called Negro in Louisiana and Mississippi have been in Mississippi before the days the earth was divided. They've been there while everything was connected. They were still in Mississippi when everything was still connected. They're from right here. The copper color race is found here, and they told you a trick and a spell. Oh, everything must have come from across the ocean. All melanin millions of years ago must come from across the ocean. No, your melanin comes from right here. You're indigenous. Your genes are melanated right here and always have been melanated right here in the cradle of the Mississippi, the Nile. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the market value of our agricultural products grown in the Mississippi River Basin is more than $54 billion annually. They're getting $54 billion off of the agricultural products grown in your backyard. And you get nothing but ghetto. You're trying to get 40 acres and a mule. And they're getting $54 billion off of the market value of the agricultural products grown in the Mississippi River Basin. The Nile. The Louisiana Purchase opened up the Mississippi River for commerce in 1803. Hijack 101. Before the Louisiana Purchase was signed, the French had control of Louisiana and the Mississippi River, which meant that the Americans couldn't use it as a trade route or transportation. For transportation, Americans used the Mississippi River for transportation and to trade commerce with the help of steamboats in the 19th century. So they're talking about not the copper color race found here. Now they're talking about the Europeans born here that are taking the title of American. The importance of the Mississippi as a travel route continued to shape the region around it and helped to develop the interior of our country. Many jobs were developed which depended upon the Mississippi River, including manufacturing and timber harvesting, cutting down trees. These job opportunities caused more people to settle around the Mississippi River. During the 1800s, immigrants used the Mississippi to travel and settle. They all kept going to the mother. They all kept going to the Mem. They all kept going to the Mississippi. So yeah, we got a little bit of this Etowah, and again, love to natural by law. That's dropping on these mounds. It's dropping on these mounds. 4 miles from Wetumpka, Alabama. We're talking Georgia. We're talking Coosa. Let's talk Coosa. Let's talk Turkey. Let's talk Coosa. Let's talk Turkey. Love to natural by law. Let's talk Little Egypt. What? You didn't see that coming? You ain't been in the classroom of natural by law? If you was in the classroom of natural by law, you would have seen this coming. As soon as I said Coosa, you would have said, oh man, you know what I'm saying? Drop's about to, talk about that Little Egypt, man. Let's see if we can get it bigger. Bigger. Come on. Come on. Let's go. The site of Coosa or Little Egypt. I'm getting this out of the Archaeology in America, an encyclopedia, 4 volumes, edited by Linda S. Cordell. This ain't play. So this is also Georgia. This is also Georgia. This is Georgia. These are the mounds. You see all these mounds that are popping up. Although this is tiny, you see what it is supposed to look like. You see all these pyramids because that's what it's supposed to look like. This is Egypt. That's why they're calling it here Little Egypt, because it's the real thing. Northwest Georgia, the archaeology of a powerful Mississippi chiefdom. Coosa was the name of a powerful Mississippi chieftain that exercised some degree of political control. Over the last half a dozen other chiefdoms located in the northwest Georgia and adjacent portions of Alabama and Tennessee. Cherokee Town, right? In the mid-16th century, both the De Soto and Luna expeditions traveled to Coosa in response to its fame, Egypt fame, and reputed wealth. The ceremonial and political center for the chiefdom, also named Coosa, is known to archaeologists as Little Egypt. Little Egypt consists of 2 flat-topped earth mounds. Mounds are pyramids. So it consists of 2 flat-top earth pyramids, a large plaza, and a surrounding habitation zone, a city of pyramids. Little Egypt is located on the Coosa River at the point where it crosses the Great Smoky Fault that separates the Blue Ridge Mountains from the Great Valley section of the Valley and Ridge Physiographic Province. The site covers an area measuring approximately 360 by 180 meters on the south bank of the river at the mouth of Talking Rock Creek. In recent times, plowing and overbank flooding have reduced mounds A and B to low rises, measuring respectively 3 meters to 2 meters in height. Artifacts dating to the early woodland period, perhaps as early as 3,000 years ago, the subsequent Mississippian time period, in 18th and 19th century Cherokee, are presented at the site, but the major occupations date to the 15th and 16th century. So it was occupied mostly in the 15th, 16th century, Negro. That's the 1400s, 1500s, man, when you was hijacked. Dumb Diversas, 1452. You need to see the paperwork that was done to hijack these people in the 14th, 15th century when they were rocking in this pyramid city. The Doctrine of Discovery, the Papal Bull, Dum Diversas. Pope Nicholas V issued the Papal Bull, Dum Diversas on 18th of June, 1452. It authorized Alfonso V of Portugal to reduce any Saracen Muslims and pagans. So they're just talking all what they'll call Moors, all of what they'll call Israelites, which are also Moors. Moor means great. All dark tribal kingdoms. These are dark kingdoms. This is the Renaissance. It's the rebirth of who? Rebirth of who? Who needs to be reborn? Clearly, if we are ruling Europe and ruling Asia and ruling America and ruling so-called Africa, we're ruling all. So who needs to be reborn? Who needs a rebirth? So this document gave them their permission to subjugate all melanated kingdoms, man, and any unbelievers of what? Their Christ, their Christus, their Zeus, anybody that didn't rock with Zeus and Jupiter, to perpetual slavery. That's forever. It doesn't ever end. You're in a matrix forever. But we know our Creator did not put us in perpetual slavery. We were just put to sleep, a spirit of stupor, right? This facilitated the Portuguese slave trade from West Africa. Yeah, okay. This facilitated the Portuguese to come to America and trade your ass from here, there, flip everything. The same Pope wrote the bull Romanus Pontifex in January 5th, 1452 to the same Alfonso as a follow-up to the dumb Diversas and extended to the Catholic nations of Europe dominion over discovered land, so-called Negro. During the age of discovery, they were just discovering Negro kingdoms, Israelite kingdoms, along with sanctifying the seizure of non-Christian lands. If you didn't rock with Zeus and Jupiter, you're a non-Christian. You said, what are you talking about? I rock with the Creator directly. You become a pagan to them because you don't rock with Zeus or Christ or Jesus or Jesus or Jesus. Non-Christian lands, that's everybody that's not rocking with Jesus. It encouraged the enslavement of native Negroes, non-Christian Israelites, people in Africa and the New World, which is the Old World. We weighing all in singular the premises. This is a quote. Let's go. We weighing all. This puts you to sleep, Negro. You have to keep reading this, because this is the documentation that they took to conquer your kingdoms. And that's why right now you're a prisoner of war. And let us tell the truth. Let us find the truth. Told you that. That right now you're a prisoner of war. Until you say no more, I'm free. No more, I'm free. We weighing all in singular the premises with due meditation. That means we meditated all the way on how to take out these so-called Negro Israelite kingdoms. These more. We weighing all in singular the premise with due meditation, and noting that since we had formerly by other letters of ours granted among other things free and ample faculty to the aforesaid King Alfonso to do what to the Negro? To do what to the Negro found here in the Old World? To invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Negroes whatsoever, who they're calling Saracens. And you look up and you find a Saracen head like we saw on the red thread where they're hiding Israelites, right? On the red thread, right? They're going to show you a picture of a Saracen's head, right? You think, oh, Andrews, oh, Scottish name must be a hijacked slave master, and you look up the family crest, and it's you. Ruddy, copper color. And they're going to try to call this a Saracen's head. So who looks like this today? Negro. Look at this hair, Negro. Who looks like this today, Negro? Millions of Negroes walking down the street looking like this, with a crest of arms, red shield with Greek saltire over which is a gold saltire. This family was associated with Clan Ross, which is Rus, which means Russia, Russia, the Picts, Clan Rus. That's who they're calling a Saracen, Negro. They're trying to make this Arab, but they give it away with their Andrews DNA project. Lost Tribes of Israel Identity. Red Thread, Lost Tribes of Israel. You have surnames connected to the red thread of the Lost Tribes of Israel, and you thinking someone just dropped you off from Africa and you took their name. No, nigga, they took your name because they owned a bunch of Andrewses. They say that they're the Andrews because they own your ass. They're wearing you on the back of their jersey, nigga. And you are the face of this royalty, of this crest that goes back to the kings of Jerusalem. So when you see Saracen, a Saracen's head, it is the typical so-called Negro. Let go. We weighing all and singular the premises with due meditation, and noting that since we had formerly by other letters of ours granted among other things free and ample faculty to the aforesaid King Alfonso to invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens, all Negroes, and who they're calling pagans. You call them heathen, they call you pagan, whatsoever, and other enemies of Christ. So they use their invention of this Christ, the anointed of the Greeks, as a god of war, as a Zeus, as a Zeus against you. Because you rocked with the Great Spirit, the framer and the shaper, wheresoever placed. So this gave them permission to invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Negroes and enemies of their Zeus, wheresoever you are, and your kingdoms. What? We're just talking Little Egypt. We're just talking Little Egypt consists of 2 flat-top earth pyramids. We're just talking pyramids and kingdoms. We're just talking pyramids and kingdoms. We're just talking pyramids and kingdoms. We're talking the Saracen, right? The people of a promise. Subdue all Negroes and take their kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, dominions, possessions. Nah, I thought you were savages. They found you in the cities of gold, surrounded by gold. They know you're the chosen people. So they took it all. They invaded it all. They searched it all out. They captured all of you, vanquished you, and subdued all Negroes. This is their documentation. And their enemies, you follow this Christus today, you ass backwards. Because it wasn't here when they found you, so-called Negro. This was their new invention. I mean, they have the old Zeus, but they had to give you the remix Christus. So they took your kingdoms, your dukedoms, your principalities. I mean, it sounds like you were very civilized to me if you had kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, dominions, possessions, and all movable and immovable goods. They co-jacked your ass for everything. Now, you're the crazy one. You're the crazy nigga waking up saying, man, fuck this shit. And they saying, you're angry. You're reacting to something. You're reacting to the rage that slavery brings. Even in the Chinese letters, man, the slave's heart. When you look at the letter of the slave's heart, it just means rage. The slave has a raging heart because within you, until you're free, you have a rage, but you learn to control that and say, hey, let me put this rage, this energy, and apply it. Let me build with this. Let me connect to the Creator with this. They took your principalities, possessions, dominions, dukedoms, kingdoms, and all your movable and immovable goods. That'll drive anybody crazy. You ain't got to be a crazy nigga for that. Anyone with a heart can say, damn, So these people, these Negroes were found here. Their names were taken, their titles were taken, their kingdoms were taken, their dukedoms were taken, their principalities, that's their energy, their dominions, their possessions were taken. Now we think these people are Native Americans when it's really the so-called Negro, the copper color race found here, and all movable and immovable goods whatsoever held and possessed by them, and to reduce their people, their persons, their people to perpetual slavery. Now you just think these Negroes are just homeborn slaves, huh? Who else are we talking about? Who else are we talking about? Wake up, Negro. Wake up, Ame'rican. You've been invaded. Here's your documentation. You're currently a prisoner of war. You come from many tribes, but you were hijacked even before, and that became a more on more scenario. So they took everything, reduced you to forever slavery, Negro, and applied and to apply and appropriate to himself, so to themselves and their successors, the kingdoms, dukedoms, counties, principalities, dominions, possessions, and goods, movable and immovable. They can now apply it to themselves and to apply and appropriate to himself and his successors. Oh, I'm from Europe, but I'm American now, and I have your kingdom, dukedom, counties, principalities, dominions, possessions, and goods, movable and immovable. But don't go crazy, nigga. You're from Africa, right? See, when you buy that shit, then you take yourself off the whole board. But when you know that they, in their own definitions, in their own dictionary, left a breadcrumb for you, so-called Negro, that you are the American, the original copper color race, tribes found here by the European. But now we're going to apply that to our descendants, to our successors of the invaders to this land that are born here. But the copper colored, dark brown, deep, ruddy brown people found here, the copper color races, is the definition of an American. I know you don't feel like it because you've been invaded, fool. And they took your movable, immovable goods, and they applied to themselves and their successors, their descendants of the European. Their successors, the kingdoms, dukedoms, counties, principalities, dominions, possessions, and goods. Now we know that people that look like you did treaties, so they also applied to themselves, even the melanated treaties. They applied to themselves your kingdoms, dukedoms. I mean, that's why they did the treaties, to get your kingdoms and dukedoms and counties, principalities, dominions, and possessions and goods, movable and immovable, and to convert them to his and their use and profit by having secured the said faculty, the said King Alfonso, or by his authority, the aforesaid Infante, justly and lawfully, right, has acquired and possessed and doth possess these islands. They found you in the islands. They found you in your promised land. So they took your islands, and they took your land, and they took your harbors, and they took your seas. How do you take the water? And they do of right belong and pertain to the said King Alfonso and his successors. Dumb Diversas Papal Bull, June 18th, 1452. What happened in the next year, 1453? The Byzantine Empire was no more. The Rus were no more. An attack went down simultaneously on both sides of the plain. The Israelites in Spain had the same deal. They were being, kicked out of Spain, fighting their way out, all the way up into World War I and World War II, which were still bombing your tribes and your people that were still there. They were just blowing your ass up, acting like they were fighting each other. They were just still clearing out Europe, making it white, trying to kill the remnant off. The same thing. So this is what happened to you. This is why you're in ghettos or hoods. And this is why you claiming B's and C's when you had kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, dominions, possessions, and movable and immovable goods that now were converted to their use and profit. Hijacked. You got jacked. You got invaded. While you fighting each other, you got jacked. You got invaded. There ain't no real pyramids over there. You got that on the first one, man. So go back, get that if you ain't got it. Alright. We're just talking Little Egypt. We're talking Coosa. Love the natural by long. Archaeological site located in Murray County, Georgia, near the junction of the Coosa River and Talking Rock Creek. This site originally had 3 platform pyramids surrounding a plaza. This is a Egyptian city. They're not fucking with you. This ain't no play that they're calling it Egypt, man. Get out of your ass, man. Come on, man. Wake up. Surrounding a plaza. So this was an Egyptian city, okay? In a large village area. It was destroyed during the construction of the dam of Carter's Lake in 1972. Well, I'm born in 1979. I mean, you saying 7 years earlier? I can't add, man. 7 years earlier, they destroyed Egypt. Well, who would that benefit? They destroyed Egypt in Georgia. They just destroyed it to build a dam. Do y'all believe this shit? Do you buy this shit? Alright. So when you're looking over there, where you're trying to find Egypt, and you're seeing a bunch of constructions, not excavations, the real constructions or the real excavations need to be happening here. But as we got, and now my bro Hiram dropped, that there are, man, over 1 million or 2 million, however million acres that aren't even touched. These acres haven't even been looked at with in any close range. Millions of acres around the Grand Canyon have not been looked at in close range at all. Like it's just being hidden and, preserved, right? Little Egypt site, 9 Mu. What's this Mu about? What's this MU? What's this Mu about? What's the real? Alright, using Mississippian culture, pottery found at the site. Archaeologists date the site to the middle and late South Appalachian Mississippi culture. Again, these people, you Negroes, been in Mississippi before the days of Peleg when the earth was divided. They're going back 1600, 1300. Alright. But it keeps going, they keep stopping at that 13, 1400, huh? We're just talking Little Egypt. I'll drop this link, man. Late prehistoric, early historic chiefdoms. The nature of the chiefdoms. We're just talking to Negro, man. Prior to European exploration, the Indians of Georgia and other parts of the Southeast had achieved the highest level of political organization north of the Mesoamerican or Mesopotamian, Aztec, and Maya states. These southeastern political organizations are termed chiefdoms by anthropologists. So, of course, the Aztec relates to the Ute Aztec or the Udall Aztecan. And this is all related. A chiefdom ruled by a hereditary and often semi-divine chief was typically a multiple town organization, semi-divine chief, like a half angel type of thing. And we're talking Egypt and fallen angel, half angel, demigods. Pharaoh, demigod, Atlantis, let's go, with the population in the low thousands. So they say. The chief resided in a capital town, with other towns paying tribute to support him and his family, part-time craftspersons and military expedition. Chiefdom typically built impressive monuments, pyramids. In the southeast, Native Americans constructed large earthen mounds, pyramids, as platforms for the houses of their chief and temples to their gods. So some of these were small joints that they put the houses on. Some of them were massive. Chiefdoms rarely exceeded 25 miles in diameter and were surrounded by large empty space that served as hunting preserves, as well as buffer zones from political rivals. The present state of Georgia was the home of several chiefdoms. All right, you can relate it to Cherokee. We can relate it to Egypt, the Hebrew. Egypt. What's the influence of Joseph? What's the influence of all that right here? We're about to get some drop on that. Through eyewitness accounts of the 16th century Spanish explorers and archaeological record, we now know a great deal about these groups. So I'm going to drop this link, man, and it gets into the chiefdom of the Coosa. Coosa is one of the best known chiefdoms in the area. Chiefdoms in the area that is now Georgia, located in Coosa, Wata River in modern Gordon and Murray counties. Coosa, according to Spanish explorers, consisted of 8 towns, of which archaeologists have located at least 7 cities of gold. Let's go. The capital, an archaeological site known as Little Egypt, that's the capital, was excavated by archaeologist David Haley. So is this an excavation or construction? This might be an actual excavation. For the University of Georgia in the early 1970s, the Little Egypt site comprised 3 earthen mounds, pyramids surrounding an open plaza area in the center of the large village. One other town had a single mound, while the other villages lacked mounds. The population of Coosa chiefdom is estimated to have been 2,500 to 4,600 people in that particular spot. Maybe not. Maybe not. Who's this brother right here? We're just talking Coosa, man. Alright, so I'm going to leave this link. Get some more drop on this chiefdoms. Get some more drop on it.
It's Lynn Liaz, and I'm
going to get into this drop here by Lynn Liaz. I think we got some of this before, but it's relevant. Again, check out my bro, Hiram. Alright, and then we're going to get into some truth unveiled. So, let's see if we have time for all that. We might have just enough time for all that, man. So, alright, man, we're getting to these chieftains. We're getting into this Coosa. We got some archaeological encyclopedias. All this stuff will be dropped on. You get part 1. Alright, let me just surfing the wave, man. So let's get it, man. Ancient Egyptians came to America. Alright, well, we're getting right here that this is Egypt. We're talking Grand Canyon. So surf the wave and let's get some babies out of this.
I found these 2 links on Steve Quayle's Giants website. Now, the links to those articles, as well as Steve Quayle's Giants website, will be included in my Before It's News article. As always, the link to my Before It's News article can be found beneath my YouTube video on my YouTube channel in the About section. So be sure and check out that link, because there will be more information included in my article, including these pictures and this video. Now, I'm going to show you in this video how ancient Egyptians did indeed come to the United States, and it's not just in the Grand Canyon, but in some other places as well. And I'm going to prove to you that not only did the ancient Egyptians come to the United States of America, but Joseph from the Old Testament in the Bible also came to the United States of America.
I mean, she can't really picture a different reality that they were already here, that this is Atlantis here. So you have to flip it, and clear that path, man, of reality. So yeah, Joseph, all this already here. Exodus happening right here. Let's go.
of America. Now, if you're not familiar with the Joseph I'm referring to, it's Joseph, the one with the coat of many colors. His brothers deceived him, and they threw him in a pit, sold him into slavery. He went through a bunch of stuff over in Egypt. He was the slave to Potiphar when Potiphar's wife started hitting on him because she was an adulterous, unfaithful woman. Joseph refused to give in to her and fled from her, and she screamed out and accused that he tried to rape her. Well, he was then thrown into prison for a long time, but later was released, and he was looked to because of his visions and dreams that he had. He was able to interpret dreams, and he was very intelligent. He became one of the kings of Egypt. So he did indeed come to the United States of America. Once again, I'm going to show you in these articles the evidence of that so that you can see for yourself. Right here it says Ancient Egyptians Grand Canyon. It says this Egyptian tunnel city was named Kincaid's Cave for G.E. Kincaid, who first entered the cave when he was working for S.A. Jordan. Now this picture is the entrance to Powell's Cave in the Grand Canyon. This cave was named Powell's Cave because John Wesley Powell discovered it. John Wesley Powell wrote in his report to the government, which he also published in a book, "In this canyon, great numbers of man-made caves are hollowed out. I first walked down a gorge to the left of a cliff and climbed to a bench of the cliff. There was a trail on the cliff bench that was deeply worn into the rock formation. Where the trail crossed some gulches, some steps had been cut. I could see no evidence that the trail had been traveled in a long time. I returned to our camp at 3 p.m., and the men had found even more Egyptian hieroglyphics on the cliff walls near the cave." Now over here it says G.E. Kincaid served in the Marine Corps. After retiring, he worked for S.A. Jordan as an archaeologist. S.A. Jordan was sent to the Grand Canyon by the Smithsonian Institute to investigate the information that was reported by John Wesley Powell. The tunnel is presently on a cliff wall 390 feet above the present flow of the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon. Archaeologists estimate the man-made cavern is around 3,000 years old. The man-made cavern is over 500 feet long and has several cross tunnels to large chambers. This was the lowest level and last Egyptian tunnel city they built in the Grand Canyon. Since the time that the Egyptian tunnel city was made, archaeologists estimate the Colorado River has eroded another 300 feet lower. Now, right here, this is a picture of John Wesley Powell, and it says that if you want to find out more information about him, you can go to this link here, Ancient Egyptians in America Discoveries. Smithsonian archaeologists have studied the Egyptian hieroglyphs on the walls to this man-made cave, and they are identical to the hieroglyphs for some of the kings of Egypt. The additional Egyptian writings has more additional information than was previously known about these Egyptian kings. Now, this is very interesting right here. Let me move this up a little bit. It says this is a golden artifact for the Egyptian king named Kayan, and it was found in the Egyptian tunnel city in the Grand Canyon. Let me move this up so you can see it a little bit better for a second. It says the Egyptian shrine was in the first cross tunnel in the tunnel, which was in exactly the same location that the shrines were in the Valley of the Kings. Now, in the Valley of the Kings tunnel, cities where Egyptian kings lived before the kings of ancient Egypt began to build pyramids and above-ground cities in Egypt. The archaeological meaning of the power beams radiating to the hieroglyphic symbols for the ancient kings' the archaeological meaning of the power beams radiating to the hieroglyphic symbols for the ancient kings' hieroglyphic symbols. Now, I don't know if that's supposed to be a heading or what, but it's really messing me up here. It says that it means Kayan, and it was a powerful king in Egypt. So Kayan was a very powerful king in Egypt. Now here's the interesting part. He was recorded as a descendant of Zaphnath or Joseph. that was the king of Egypt from 1610 to 1580 at Avaris, Egypt, where King Zatnath ruled Egypt from also. All kings and pharaohs had different Egyptian hieroglyphs for symbol identification. Both the symbol and name of Kayan is on the base of his shrine. The top symbol on the base of his shrine in the left side top of his center hieroglyph is the Hebrew Semitic son of the right hand that meant firstborn son. Then in the center of the base is the hieroglyphic symbol for the Kayan with his power beams, and he is holding the staff of the Lord in one hand. There is no doubt about the identification for Kayan, or that he was a descendant of King Zapnath in Egypt, who was Joseph in the Bible. King Kayan sat on the throne of his ancestor, King Zapnath, at Erebus, Egypt also. Now, this isn't the evidence I have about Joseph coming to the United States of America. That I will show you here shortly. But this just shows you how this king was a descendant of Joseph. Now here's a picture of some Egyptian urns that were found in Powell's Cave. They are at the Smithsonian Institute at Washington, D.C. Very Egyptian looking there. And here is a tablet. It's a gold tablet. It was recovered from the Egyptian tunnel city in the Grand Canyon. And it was basically a history book that included names that began with King Zapnath, or Joseph, coming to At's land, and the information for his descendant, King Kayan, coming to the Grand Canyon. On the left bottom of the artifact is, and you can see right there, the symbol for the second land of Egypt named Memphis by King Zapnath. So it's the symbol for a second land of Egypt. On the top left is F, which meant family, in the Armenian Semitic language that he spoke. More history for At's land was on the back side of the gold artifact. So the thing you want to remember that I want to highlight in that article, or for that artifact there and what it stated, was the symbol, which it states the second land of Egypt. Now here's something that's interesting. You can see I have to scroll down, and it's going to talk about the second row here, and it's too faded for me to really see, so you can go back and look. Maybe you can find it when you look at it. It says that this diagram was an important discovery for the Smithsonian archaeologists who were exploring the Palace Tunnel in the Grand Canyon. This is a diagram for Egyptian writing system when ancient Egyptians came to the Grand Canyon. It was a school tablet used for teaching Egyptian children to read and write. Now here's the interesting thing. The animal and bird symbols were used to describe the ranks of the kings on the Egyptian hieroglyphs carved into the cliff walls of the Grand Canyon. It's interesting to note the rectangle box on the top second row from the left is the Hebrew Ark of the Covenant symbol, which we know that they carried the Spirit of God around in the ark. And then it goes on to say lower in the same row is the box without a bottom, which was the Hebrew son of the right hand symbol, which would be the symbol for Jesus Christ. All right, this is a picture you've probably seen all over the internet, and it is an artifact from Kincaid's tunnel. Even though the many large other smaller images were found in the tunnel in the Grand Canyon, this artifact was an important discovery for the Smithsonian archaeologists. It is an artifact for King Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti. Their ancestors and children's names are on this artifact. The Egyptian name of Zapnath, or Joseph, is one of their ancestors. It is recorded that Akhenaten restored the Semitic religion of Ammon in Egypt at Saqqara, Egypt. Akhenaten was the recorded ruler in Egypt from 1353 to 1336. His son, Setaprine, was also an Egyptian ruler in the Grand Canyon and was recorded as a king at Saqqara, Egypt also. This Egyptian information means that Egyptian kings came to the Grand Canyon at various times, but also returned to Egypt. When Egyptians came to the Grand Canyon around 1700 BC, they began building tunnel cities in the Vermilion cliff walls into the north rim of the Grand Canyon. And I'm going to supply a video by Brian Forrester. I actually did a post some time ago about the tunnel systems beneath the Giza pyramids, and he just came out with a video where he takes you into those tunnel systems beneath the Giza pyramids. So the Egyptians were very famous for their tunnel systems, for their technology, and so forth. The Egyptians first selected overhangs that had balconies so the kings could walk to the edge of the plateau balconies and look at the farming and mining that was located at lower levels of the Grand Canyon. The Egyptian kings had their Egyptian hieroglyphic symbols on the canyon walls around their tunnel cities and on the Grand Canyon cliff walls. The Kiabab Plateau is around 8,000 feet above the present flow of the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon. And down here, it says these cliff walls were the top cliff walls that were above the large Kiabab Plateau of the Grand Canyon. All the Egyptian temples are on the north side of the Grand Canyon also. And here it talks about the fertile land, how basically it could have fed at least 500,000 people, and the estimated number of the Egyptians in the Grand Canyon were about 50,000 people, so there would have been more than enough to sustain them. Now, this artifact is from Kincaid's Tunnel in the Grand Canyon. It's identified as being an artifact for King Apernet, who sat at Saqqara, Egypt also. In Egypt, King Apernet was known as the powerful king that ruled foreigners also. Right here is a copper statue in Kincaid's Tunnel in the Grand Canyon. It was identified as a shrine for Anubis. It is impossible that he was ever in the Grand Canyon. Anubis was a famous Egyptian embalmer that believed in an afterlife. Now notice also I've talked about, their depictions of a body of a man with the head of a beast. So I've discussed how those would have actually been Nephilim or Raphaim beings that were created by the sons of God mating or having sex with the daughters of men. Now here are the Walhalla ruins. These ruins in the Kabib Plateau of the Grand Canyon are being excavated. Because of the plundering of artifacts, even by the Smithsonian archaeologists, FBI agents always attend excavating teams in the Grand Canyon, and now at all sites in the United States. Now do remember that most of your national parks in the United States are now owned by UNESCO, which is a division of the United Nations. Now this here is pretty interesting. These are pictures of Hopi Indians who occupy that area, and it says, the Grand Canyon National Park was named an official national park in 1919. The National Park Service has a policy of preserving the history of Native American Indians when establishing parks. They lived on the North Kiabab rim of the Grand Canyon where the Egyptian pyramids are located, and they knew the names of the Egyptian pyramid temple names that are located under the North Kiabab rim of the Grand Canyon. The Hopi Indians have a god named Tawa. He was a man's face that smiles all the time and has a good heart. The Hopi Indians still use a large number of original Egyptian words in their language. So, the interesting thing that you could, ask yourself there would be, number one, either these Hopi Indians dwelled alongside with the Egyptians at that time, or maybe they are descendants of the Egyptians who were at the Grand Canyon. This is the original Seth Tanner Trail, and it's still a popular tourist trail in the Grand Canyon. Now, the Egyptians mined copper, silver, and gold, and we've seen some of their copper and gold artifacts here in this article. They mined it from the Grand Canyon, There are many ruins of Egyptian metal smelters and furnaces in the Grand Canyon. These metal smelters and furnaces are located on the second plateau of the Grand Canyon, and there are several mining tunnels and Egyptian tunnel cities in the cliff walls of second-level Grand Canyon plateaus. Even though the Iris Temple in the Grand Canyon is now badly eroded, a few of the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs can still be seen on the cliff walls of the temple. The temple also has an obvious entrance, but only a few feet into the temple entrance it is closed. The National Park Service will not allow any excavations of the pyramid temples. Now, I didn't know this, and maybe I should have. Maybe most of you do know, but I didn't, because I've never really looked that deeply into the Grand Canyon. But there is a pyramid, and it's right here. You can see right there. It says the Tower of Set, actually the Setaprine Pyramid, was named by the Hopi Indians. The Tower of Set was the first pyramid to be built in the Grand Canyon as a burial tomb for King Setaprine that came to the Grand Canyon. All of the Egyptian hieroglyphs have eroded off the pyramid. The Set pyramid has a rectangular shape similar to the first pyramids in Egypt. Now over here it says this small gold artifact was found in Kincaid's Tunnel, and it's on display at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. The Egyptian legend for Iris, the goddess of power and love. She was the first daughter of Gad, who was the first god of earth in Egypt. Her heart was full of love. The hearts of her love are on the base of the image of her, which you can see right there. Now here's another interesting thing here. It says, Zoroaster Temple in the Grand Canyon was named by the Hopi Indians. And wait till you hear this. This is pretty interesting. Here's the Egyptian legend for Zoroaster. Zoroaster was in Egypt when times were hard and Egypt was becoming a poor nation. But Zoroaster's first name had been Joseph, because he had a god that was higher in the heavens than their sun god named Ra that knew what the Pharaoh's dreams meant. Joseph became very popular because he could interpret the dreams of the pharaohs. So the pharaohs loved him, and his dreams always became true. They were accurate. He built a big boat that had wings or sails that would carry many people, and found more grain and gold for the Egyptians. When he came back to Egypt in this boat loaded with gold, grain, the pharaoh made him the ruler of Egypt and called him Zaphanat Paneah. And Pharaoh was like a father to King Zaphanat Paneah. And the next article I'm going to show you is going to go into more detail about this, which will prove to you that Joseph came to the United States of America because things became so bad in Egypt, they started a second kingdom right over here in the U.S. So remember that, because I'm going to show you.
We just got these pyramids. You know, we got the pyramids of Egypt. And it's up to you to decide for old world or new world. Is this the old world or the new world? You need more evidence. You need more facts about these oceans and these rivers and these artifacts. You're wondering why they're finding the Paleo Hebrew that they just discovered in the 1900s right here, dating back over 2,000 years in New Mexico, which is also called Hawiku or Cibola or Shambhala or Kalelus or Promised Land or Udall. Smithsonian archaeologists think that this is the unfinished Egyptian pyramid in the Grand Canyon. Excavation or construction. So are they just excavating again? Over millions of acres have not even been seen at close range yet in Arizona. Grand Canyon. So they haven't even excavated over 1 million acres, man. So they have a lot of excavating to do while they're doing all this construction over there. So yeah, Joseph didn't need to come over here to reboot nothing. He was already here. Facts.
More on that. And I don't want to miss this over here. I'm trying to move this screen. Here we go. It says the Hopi Indians told Grand Canyon Park Rangers that this was the Tower of Ra. Only a few eroded.
So the Hopi, the same ones coming with the red kachina, blue kachina, and you seeing that in the sky right now, also said that this is the Tower of Ra. And then remember the the Tower of Babel connection to the Devil's Tower, which is the what they're calling, it's just some type of cut off mountain, mesa mountain. cut off tree called Devil's Tower, Tower of Babel, Tower of Ra, right before your eyes. Excavation, it looks like. Now we know what constructions look like. We know what the modern constructions are looking like. Will they be finding sand, geopolymer concrete, or will they be unearthing the real deal? Something about your mountains, they were underwater. Oh, when you start climbing your mountains and seeing sand, they were underwater. When you start finding seashells 9,000 feet above sea level, you're in an old world biblical place. Let's go.
Egyptian hieroglyphs can still be seen on the Tower of Ra. Over here, this is an unfinished Egyptian pyramid. And the tunnel's blocked a few feet inside. Now, I kind of wonder if Joseph ever stayed here when he traveled, because it says the Egyptians built some large entertainment centers in the Grand Canyon. The buildings had wood roofs that are no longer on the buildings. These entertainment centers had large fields for foot races and games, and had shower rooms and homes for the different athletic teams. The centers also have...
They had shower rooms for the sports teams? Oh man, you talking? See, the Rome got they shit from Egypt, right, with the Colosseums and shit. Oh man, is it a game?
Had large theaters for musical concerts and kitchens to prepare meals for the Egyptian kings, athletes, and musicians. So, being that Joseph traveled to the United States of America, which will become more real to you here shortly when I show you the other information on the other article. It's just interesting to wonder. Now, this is called the Tunnel Complex, and Mr. G.E. Kincaid found it. It was a burial chamber inside of it, and these mummies were placed in the burial chamber walls on large stone blocks. The Egyptians began coming to the Grand Canyon according to the carbon dating of the mummies' bones.
Well, the carbon dating is bullshit, but we know that they were already here, and these are mummified bodies inside of the Grand Canyon in Era freaking Zona, which is Utah. Mummified. Are you still wondering, is this the old world or the new world? You think Joseph just came, set up some shit right quick, went back over? No, not when they're finding constructions, not excavations over here. And over here, we're looking at the excavation.
The carbon date for the oldest mummies was around 1600 BC, and you can see the mummies right there. And they actually opened up one of the cases that a mummy was in, and I don't know if that's a picture, a painting, or some type of a carving, but the face there looks pretty clear, so I would venture to say it has to be some sort of a carving or drawing. But I could be wrong.
Some type of mask.
And let's see what it says here. It says one of the crypts was open in the Grand Canyon to see if there were mummies in them before they were sent to the Smithsonian Institute storage building. And yes, they did find mummies in them.
Wow.
Now, this article is very long, and I'll probably do a separate video post on this, but for right now, I do want to mention the things about Joseph to give you the actual evidence that he came to the United States of America, and this is pretty interesting. This is actually in Illinois. So now I showed you the Grand Canyon, how the ancient Egyptians were there, but here's one. It's called Burroughs Cave in Illinois. It says, every new discovery has its dangers. In the version of our story, in 1982, Russell Burroughs rediscovered a cave along a branch of the Little Wabash River near his hometown of Olney, Illinois. However, he only looted the Egyptian tomb cave in Illinois. Some of the published information for his artifacts has been proven to be correct, but some identifications for his artifacts may be incorrect. Now, it says this artifact was removed from Burroughs Cave in Illinois by Russell Burroughs. This is the best preserved artifact for the exact face structure of King Zaphnath.
All right, so they're going to try to give you a hijack face. You know what I'm saying? Dodge the hijack. Let's go.
Pania of Egypt that has ever been discovered. And I just told you how he was Joseph from the Bible. King Zaphnath Pania of Egypt wrote that he found another place for Egyptians to live because Egypt had become overpopulated when he was 36 years old. This date would be around 1744 BC. 3 broken pieces of the same face structure.
And you know it's hijack when they say, oh, this is the best preserved artifact for the exact face structure. So don't be confused. He's a European. You know what I'm saying? So that's when they have to really infuse themselves so deep when they're trying to give you drop, but they still got to be a part of it, the same way the Mormons do. They'll give you the drop that Israelites were found here and that all that, but then they'll put themselves in the picture. They'll make Quetzalcoatl white and Joshua white and everyone's white, and this is some white paradise, some white Amazon women, and everything's some white heaven, and you gotta die. I mean, they keep iconoclasting, keep putting their face on everything. All right, man, so just get the drop that there's an artifact relating to Joseph right here in Illinois, Arizona, all connected.
Crown style were found in the ruins at Erebus, Egypt, where he ruled Egypt for 48 years.
Remember, we got this gypsy, gypsy. Now they were relating to these Negroes here as gypsies, gypsy musicians, gypsy jazz. You're the gypsy to them. You're the gypsy, this nomad, right? This shepherd, this nomad. You're the gypsy. These people that are connected to Egypt, whether you're there in bondage, just like you are called the United States of America, you're an American thinking you're in a part of this corporation. Regardless of your tribe, you still say, oh yeah, I'm a part, here's my passport. I'm an American citizen of a corporation. You were also an Egyptian citizen in bondage. Let's go.
The Mormons have records for him, including some of his writings, information for his 12 trips to a foreign land, which was in a gold...
So they got the writings of Joseph, man. Let's go.
...book that was part of the Dead Sea Scrolls discovery were new records for him. The artifact was identified as an artifact for King Zaphnath of Egypt, who was Joseph in the Bible. The direction of the boat on King Zaphnath's crown is coming to the Hio River of Ophir. Ancient Aslan, or Hio, of the Empire of Ophir is now the United States.
Hio, like Ohio. Ophir. Sorry, man. I didn't think I needed my Iberian war map, but I guess I do. Because when I look at this Iberian war map and I'm looking for Ophir and Egypt and everything else of significance when everything was still connected in this Arizona reality simulation, you look for Ophir. Oh yeah. I know we found Ophir. There it is. I've been looking at it the whole time. The Ophir Meadowlands, the Eastern Ophir. And look how close Ophir is to Egypt. Here's Ophir. 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 All this is Ophir. All this is Ophir. Connected to the land of Shem. Ophir connected to Shem. We're talking Solomon. We're talking Ophir. We're talking Kalelus. We're talking Solomon. We're talking Prester John. We're talking Ophir. We're talking Shem. Shem. Over Egypt. Kim. Luxor. Over Kush. Over Timbuktu. Over Peru. Amazon. Black Kingdoms. Ophir. All that over here. Let's get a few more minutes. Ophir.
So, an artifact, on Joseph in the Bible, the direction of the boat on his crown.
So they said the artifact was removed from Barrows Cave in Illinois by Russell Barrows. This is the best preserved artifact for the exact face structure. Yeah, okay. King Zephaniah Paner of Egypt, Egyptcy, wrote he found another place for Egyptians to live because Egypt had become overpopulated when he was 36 years old. So does this mean these people, man? These people. Does this mean he found another place to live? Does that mean he came from over there? Or does it mean he migrated? Does it mean that that's why you're finding Egypt in Arizona and Egypt in Illinois and Egypt in Mexico? Is that why Egypt maybe migrated? See how they draw conclusions and say, oh, look, because it says in the writings of Joseph that he found another place for Egyptians to live because Egypt had become overpopulated when he was 36. This date would be around 1744 BC. This must mean he came from Africa. No, they just didn't put together yet that Egypt is all over the place right here in Atlantis, which is connected to Lemuria. Let's go. These broken pieces at the time of the same face structure and crown style were found in the ruins of Ervis, Egypt, where he ruled. So they're connecting the same face structure with over there and saying, look, see, it's the same. Or they're just showing you what's over there so they can connect it over here. We talked about these Mormons. They have records for him, including some of his writings. Informations for his 12 trips to a foreign land was in a gold book. A golden Joseph Hebrew book. That was part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and we saw that connected to the Qumran and connected to the Chariots of Prester John. That these Dead Sea Scrolls get that part. Prester John, whatever part that is, it says Dead Sea Scrolls, is connected to the Qumran scrolls that are coming out of the Chariots that are connected to the house of Prester John, the tribe of the Chariots, the so-called Mongols, the Khans. Dead Sea Scrolls. Discovery were new records for him. All right, let's go.
Shows him coming to the United States. King Zaphnath ruled Egypt from the temple of Ammon at Ervis, Egypt. King Zaphnath recorded 12 trips to Ophir, or the United States, that became his second land of Egypt. Some historians and some archaeologists are aware of this information, but some historians and some archaeologists are unaware of this information. The sun of the right-hand symbol is on the bottom right side of the artifact because we know that Joseph was very loyal to God. And I mean the Almighty One True God.
Wow.
Yahweh.
Wow.
Then the box above the symbol is the Semitic symbol for the Ark of the Covenant. Or the Ark of the Covenant. Covenants they have. This is a strong indication that King Zaphnath, or Joseph, who ruled Egypt for 48 years, ruled Egypt according to the 10 Commandments in the Bible. The sun of the right-hand symbol on the right bottom corner of the artifact is a Semitic symbol. This Semitic symbol has been found.
So these artifacts have Shem, not Sim, Shemitic. They are of Shem, of the people of Shem. Copper color race is found here. This is your promised land. So-called Negro, you are the Shem. But so is Moab, right? And who did the treaties on Shem? Your brothers of Shem, the other Shemites, did treaties against you, so-called Negro. The other tribes of Shem did treaties against you here. And here you're seeing the Shemitic symbols right here on the artifacts, right here coming out of Egypt, right here in Illinois. We're talking to Burroughs Cave, we're talking to Grand Canyon.
Found on other artifacts in the Middle East countries. This symbol meant the first son of a mother instead of the father. When a father had two wives, he may have two sons of the right hand. The three diamonds are Egyptian symbols for the greatest wealth. There are three diamonds on his artifact. This is a strong indication that he was the king at three locations. We think the third location was the Grand Canyon. Then on the top is M. The M is...
Oh, so she just kind of surfed the wave, regardless of if she wants to explore the wave and become water. She just said, we're just talking over here. We're not even looking this direction right now based on artifacts. That even though it says, so this is in Egypt here, right? Where you would call, Mexico over Peru, right? This is the Central America situation. She's saying Ophir was another, main location. So you have Ophir. And we have the Grand Canyon over here, which is connected to Pictland, Picts, Clan Ross, Rus, Saracen, Rus, Russia, named after these Ruses, these Picts, Clan Ross, home turf, Khalifa, Cali, Udall. Then you have Samaria, all right? Whatever this is called, Aquilonia. Interesting, right? Aquilonia. All right, so all this is Udall. Then you have Ophir right here. So Ophir is a location of Egypt. Then you have this area that was a location of Egypt. All this. Then you had this area. That's three areas right there. So we can surf that way. Let's go.
Is for my witch. For my witch was a symbol for his Egypt. I don't know if that's a typo, but you can see right there. If I don't know, how to tell you differently. It says there is a symbol M is for my. Okay, I'm just reading it wrong. It says is a symbol M. This symbol is for my, which was a symbol for his Egypt.
What? Because you see an M, it must mean my. We're not talking English, fool. Are y'all talking English? Because I thought we were talking Egyptian, and I thought we were talking Joseph. And we're talking Joseph, we must be talking Paleo, Picto, Hebrew. And if you look for the M, you're only talking the what? The mem. And does that mean my? Does M mean why, my? Or is there Picto, moving water? Water, we're talking water, which can be chaos to your ass if you're a hijack. But to you, sons of Jacob, it is mighty. It's in your blood. It's your moving water, your blood, your ruach. So what does that M stand for? It's the water. What's the water? We're talking Joseph, right? We're talking the framer and the shaper, right? But you see how the hijacks do you. This is on top. Then on top is the M, and the M is for my, which was a symbol for his Egypt. Come on, man. That's why we dig on it. That's why we get our own drop and stay hijack free.
And then the umbrella shape means the umbrella empire on both lands of Egypt that was established by King Zaphnath from Egypt. King Zaphnath wrote that he found another place for Egyptians to farm and mine when he was 36 years old. This research date would be 1744 BC. And there's an artifact there. That was recovered from Burroughs Cave in Illinois. It's been identified as a tripod that was used to measure the degrees of the stars with. These degrees and measurements are on the top of the artifact. Now, here's an interesting piece that had to do with Joseph. It says,
Ame'rican artifacts.
historians and archaeologists have identified this gold artifact from Burroughs Cave. Each Egyptian ruler had a separate hieroglyphic symbol. This is the hieroglyph that King Zaphnath, or
Lamed, shepherd staff, Lamed, Tet, 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 cross. This is a cross. It is a crossing. Let's go.
Joseph, chose for himself. Shu was the Egyptian name for a crocodile in Egypt at the time.
Wow.
Shu, the crocodile, was the symbol that King Zaphnath chose. This was the first known crocodile hieroglyph symbol for any
And we got the Anhar and Shu and how that relates to Moses and Joshua. Let's go.
king in Egypt. This same hieroglyph was found at the Erebus, Egypt ruins for King Zaphnath. King Zaphnath is holding the staff of the Lord. Okay, so then on the bottom right is a dash, which meant number 1. Next above the dash is 1X, this gold artifact. X is the symbol for first or father. Then above the X is the diamond, which meant greatest of wealth. Then above the X is the, and you can see right there, I'm not sure how to say that, symbol, which is for the second land of Egypt. Then above is the elongated W symbol. The W symbol meant a large body of water or the ocean. Then above the W seems to be a landmass with a river in the center of it. King Zaphnath was known to be a wise king in Egypt and knew that Shu, the crocodile symbol, was a more powerful symbol than the bird symbols of the pharaohs of Egypt. So the pharaohs of Egypt always used the bird symbols, but he used a crocodile symbol, which was even more powerful. Maybe he was trying to convey that his God, which is the one true God, was more powerful than any other God that man.
Yeah, and you know, we're just talking the X, the cross, the sign. It's very interesting how their W is water, right? So what they do is they flip it, right? So you have in the paleo, you got the mem, right? And then they're going to flip that, you know, to become the W. Staying away from the ha, and now they call it a vav, which you know is really a wa. We'll be back in that paleo, man. We'll be back in the paleo. Just trying to see something. Yeah, there we go. So we got the ha, and this is the wa. Then they changed the wa to a v. Now they gave you a different W, which is really your mem, your moving water. This is really your water, your mem. This is the M. And they're taking the wa. Alright, very interesting, man. I know you remember that drop with the Book of the Beginnings. Book of the Beginnings, La Paco with the shoe. You know, everything we're saying, man, is stuff that we, you know, been rocking with, man, for a minute. Love the Drop Nation, man, for the drop. Which, you know, is breaking down the Hawa Mak and Cuzco relation with this Moshe, Mashika. As Shu, you see it right there. As Shu and Anhar in Egyptian mythology, and Moses and Joshua. So you see the connection. Shu and Anhar, Moses and Joshua, conducted their people with the solar orb around the circle of the signs, overcoming the opposing powers postulated by the early man. So in Toltec mythology, Hawa Mak and Quetzalcoatl conducted their people through the pilgrimage and wanderings recorded in the picture writings. Hawa Mak, like Moses, wrote the code of laws for the nation and conducted the civil government. Quetzalcoatl, in relationship to Hawa Mak, plays the part of Joshua. We're just talking Shu and Anhar, Moshe and Joshua. So why is this relationship to Shu? We're talking Little Egypt. We're talking Coosa chieftain. Why is there a relationship to Shu? Shu the crocodile right here in America. We're talking Moses and Joshua right here in America. We're talking Shu in Egypt. Right here in America. Let's go.
And had created for himself. He knew that he would be worshipped by a very powerful god by the Egyptians that were not of Semitic descent. This very same symbol was found in the ruins of the Temple of Ammon at Erebus, Egypt, which was the location that King Zapnath was the king of Egypt for 48 years. King Zapnath was also a writer. His grandson, Azrael, was the next king of Egypt. Azrael was a writer also. Like King Zapnath, Azrael was known by another Egyptian in their own language. Azrael was King Mabri Shushi. Mabri Shushi meant son of Shu in their Egyptian language.
We're just talking shoes,
and who,
man.
Again,
We're just talking shoes. So I'm going to leave this link. We're going to make this dismount, man, with the Truth Unveiled 777, showing the comparisons of Egypt there and here. One is mimicking the other. We just dropping a drop. Drop Nation. Let's go.
This video will prove that America today is in fact Egypt. And just like Egypt, too. Now you may be wondering, why do I have a map of Egypt open right here, as you can see? Take a good look at Egypt, today's modern Egypt. What do you see? What is that giant river that flows down Egypt and is said to be the cradle of civilization? What gives Africa and mostly all of Egypt life? The Nile River. And as you can see, it flows all the way down. All the way down. And you see, much of civilization started with this river, as all these cities are all based around the river, including Thebes. But what else do you see? On this river, you see that about 30% of the land is separated to the east, and about 60 or 70% to the west of the
30% of the land separated by this river to the east, 60, 70 to the west. Look at little Israel here. Oh, 1947. Oh, that's so cute. When you got the whole America, that is your Israel. Let's go.
The river. Now, what else do you see on this river? You see a city called Memphis. And if I zoom in a little bit, it's just south of Cairo, Memphis, right here. Where else have I heard that before? Let's
look at this. Hawara. Hawara. Like Hawiku, Kalelu Sipola, Hawiku, Hawaku, Hawara. We talking promised land. Now look at the connection. Let's go.
Let's keep going. Okay. So, if we go here, what is one of the longest rivers in America? Not the longest, but one of them. The Mississippi.
Bang.
Wow, just like the Nile for Egypt. And let's see if I can get a bigger map here. Wow, about 30% of the land is east of this river, and about the rest of the 60 is west. Just like Egypt. 30% over here, 60% over there. It's no different. But wait, you see this long river that gives America much life and substance? Just like the Nile in Egypt? What city do you see on this river that matches this one?
Memphis.
Right here. Memphis. Where else have I seen Memphis before? Oh yeah, Memphis, Tennessee, right here. Wow. Memphis right there, right?
Choose your reality, old world or new.
There on the Mississippi River. Just like Memphis, Egypt on the Nile River. Is that a coincidence? No, that cannot be a coincidence. But you want to know what else? What else is so interesting about this? Is that here is Giza, which is very close to Memphis. And as you can see, here's the pyramids of Giza, here's the Sphinx, and all of ancient Egypt, as they like to call it, the cradle of civilization. Is there a pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee? Yes, there is, right here. And look, it's right off the water. Look, it's right off the Mississippi River, right there. There it is. There you see it. You see a pyramid right here in Memphis, in the Mississippi right here, just like you see the ancient pyramids right here, right close, right next to the Nile River, in a city that's on the Nile called Memphis, in Africa's longest river, the river that gave civilization, just like the river that gives America civilization right here, the Mississippi. And you see Memphis right there on that river. Wow, is that a coincidence? Doesn't look like it. So it looks like to me that, in fact, America is ancient Egypt all over again, because I see a pyramid right here in America today. But that's not all. Where else do we see more facts and proof of ancient Egypt here in America today? Well, let's keep going. As we see here, we're back in Memphis, we're back at the pyramid. Oh, look who's there! They have a statue of Ramses the Great right in Memphis, right in front of the pyramid. Wow!
Face.
An ancient pharaoh that was probably worshipped as a god back then, right in front of the pyramid, in current day, modern day Memphis, Tennessee. Just like they have the Sphinx right in front of the pyramids of Giza, close to Memphis, Egypt. Wow, is that a coincidence either? Doesn't look like it, but let's keep going. According to this map, if we go a little bit south, we can find the Luxor, which is in about this area here of modern-day Egypt. It's still on the Nile. Now, why is that important? Because Luxor is, in fact, an ancient city in Egypt, in an ancient area. And as we see Heliopolis right here, what does that mean? The sun. It has to do with reference to the sun. Where else do we see a pyramid in today's Egypt, America, with the Luxor? I know. The Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas. This is a picture of the ancient city.
Or Hyborian War map tells you Stagia, Egypt, Luxor, right next to Khem, Luxor, in Mexico. Remember, they changed locations. Let's go.
Of Luxor, and look at what you see. You see a big phallic symbol, the obelisk, which is a phallic symbol and is embedded with sun worship and Nimrod worship and ancient god worshiping, and is in fact abominable with ancient statues and everything else. But where else do you see a pyramid and the Luxor? Here in Las Vegas. I see a pyramid right here in Las Vegas. And I see a Sphinx here in Las Vegas as well. Wow, is that a coincidence? Could this be telling me that America is in fact modern day Egypt? Yes, it is. Because I see a pyramid here in Las Vegas.
America is ancient Egypt. But again, a lot of people ain't flipped it upside down yet.
I see pyramids all over the place. I see a pyramid here in Memphis that's on the Mississippi River, just like Memphis, Egypt on the Nile River. I see it here with the statue of Ramses the Great in Memphis, Tennessee. Just like in Memphis, Egypt, they have the Sphinx in front of the pyramids right near the Nile. And as you can see here, or here, the Mississippi River. Wow, and they have a Sphinx right here. And a pyramid right behind it. Wow, what does that piggyback off of? This. It's the same thing, and it's in Las Vegas. Wow, the city of sin. Is that interesting? It's also parallel and a piggyback ride of the city of lights, just like Paris. And by the way, the Eiffel Tower is not pretty when you know that it is in fact a phallic obelisk representing sun worship, just like Las Vegas. Just like Memphis.
Just like Father's Day.
Wow, and they both represent Egypt. Indeed. What are your thoughts? Nothing is a coincidence, especially when the Most High Yahuwah said that his children would be enslaved in Egypt again for 400 years.
You were enslaved in bondage, and Egypt is not a place, it's a representation of bondage, and you were enslaved again and again. And will you see now? Will you see? Or will you just be entertained? Construction or excavation? Love to the family, love to the tribe. Get ready for this Preston John. We on your ass, Preston John. And I appreciate all y'all for surfing the wave, man. It's just a matter of perspective. Truly trusting your senses again, man. Don't turn them off anymore. Ask the questions. We're just asking questions. Being scientific, repeatable, observable. Stay up, suit up, choose up.